In this video, we're going to look at election mechanics. Anytime we discuss election mechanics, there are four important components to consider: the district, the ballot, the franchise, and the formula. In this video, we're going to talk about ballots. Think of the ballot as the user interface for an election. If an election is taking citizen preferences and turning them into some kind of government decision-making body, the ballot is the mechanism that allows them to do that. It allows voters to express their preference in some manner, and then hopefully turn those into either a government or maybe the election of a president. There's some considerations though when we think about ballots across different jurisdictions. Some can be very complex and others can be very simple to allow ease of access. We're going to look at a few different examples. One of the more simple ballots in use is in Canada. In this type of ballot, you've got a few choices available in two official languages, and voters select one box. Now, it's pretty intuitive. The voters are listed alphabetically. There's the party affiliation under the name, and that's it. Voters just mark an X, and they're done. So in terms of accessibility, this is an incredibly simple ballot. Easy to use. The candidate's name in large letters, party affiliation underneath it to help voters make that decision. And then, of course, just an ease of decision making. So one of the easier ballots to use in the world is the Canadian ballot. It's also a function of the electoral system as well. Now, some ballots can be quite complicated. Here's an example of a ballot in Broward County, Florida, that was used in the 2018 midterm elections. Now, the challenge of voting in places like the United States is the decentralized nature of their election administration. So instead of one national authority that's administering elections, it happens at the county level, there are about 3,000 different types of ballots on election day. Lots of different offices being elected: senators, members of the House, state representatives, county commissioners, pretty much everything. And each ballot will have a different layout for a different county. So if you're a voter showing up to voting day, this can be complicated to navigate. Even the far left of the ballot is just for instructions on how to use it. So very different than the simplistic design of a Canadian ballot. So these are sort of two extremes. One very easy to use, one can be a little more complicated. Now, some jurisdictions in the United States allow for party line voting or straight ticket voting, which does make it a bit easier for voters. You can come in, just check a box at the top saying, I'm picking all of the candidates from this party. But it is time consuming. Other jurisdictions might add things like candidate photos and party logos on the ballot in places where there are a lot of different people competing for office, especially for presidential elections that are open to a lot of different parties competing. This helps voters make sense of who's who and remember names. Sometimes, when you're looking at a parliamentary system, for example, where there's a ton of different candidates in your riding, that might be difficult to figure out who's who and who you typically vote for. So by including pictures, party logos, it's a good way to minimize confusion for voters, especially when literacy is a barrier. Now, in countries where illiteracy is a very big problem and is quite prevalent, you might want to think about other ways of electing. And there are some alternative types of ballots. Here is the Gambia, for example, where voters show up and place marbles into jars. This is a way to try and alleviate the fact that there might be different linguistic barriers as people speak different languages and dialects, but also illiteracy is a big problem. So by using a ballot like this that's more mechanical, it can help ease that access. Now, different systems will also have different ballot requirements. This is an example of a ranked choice ballot that's of use in Alaska in the United States. And how this works is that voters rank their choices. And again, this can be done with varying degrees of complexity. Some voters, there might be required some education, but you don't just pick one option, you have to rank your choices. And how that works is that through different rounds of elimination, the votes will be tallied until one candidate has reached 50%. Now, just to recap, ballots, they're a very important part of electoral democracy because they are the mechanism for the citizens to take part in the process. Ballots can be very simple or very complex, and that choice about accessibility can help increase access, or it can be more restrictive. Some of the ways you can do that is by making ballots available in different official languages and also including images or other mechanical elements to help try and facilitate ease. Ultimately, the type of ballot you use will depend on the type of electoral system. Those are very closely linked.